Welcome back to Talking Shop with ShopSaver. In this podcast, we like to tackle the CNC industry specifically and really talk a little bit about business in general. Hopefully you'll find some entertainment throughout it and hopefully some education. But the next episode starts right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Talking Shop with ShopSaver. Today we're going to address a topic that can save you time, money, headaches when it comes in investing in your business. The difference between buying equipment from a dealer versus buying it directly from a manufacturer. And we thought today's episode might be fun to chat about that. So with that, I'm your host, Brandon Bombardo, discussing with the all-important Nick Peters.
Hello, Brandon.
How you doing?
Finally warmed up for my drive in this morning.
Yeah, it's a chilly one out there, that's for sure. Obviously, we'll get into some of that in the current events here, but we get a lot of this, questioning regarding dealers versus direct OEM, and obviously it's important to discuss because the choice you make can directly impact not only your wallet, right, but your long-term success, and I think your experience. So, whether you're upgrading equipment or purchasing your first CNC machine, you've never bought one before, maybe this is your first time, this episode might be for you, and it'll shed some clarity into making that decision for your business. And I think it's time for us to dive in.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. But first, current events. You mentioned it. It's cold.
There's got to be another word for it.
It's death.
Hell has frozen over.
Yeah. Well, I saw you posted yesterday something that said, like,
It was pretty
for
funny.
all you who said, when hell freezes over, I'll do that. Today's the day you have to do it, because here's the truth, man. It's sub-zero outside. Our highs are below zero.
Yeah, it's
Like, the air temperature, no wind chill. I know people are listening to this and they're like, yeah, they're talking about their wind. No. The air temperature is sub-zero. That does not take into effect the wind chill. And once you factor in the wind chill, the temperatures are ridiculous right now.
yeah. I saw when I was driving cross country this morning to get here. At one point, my car said negative 26.
My car, when I was driving across country, mine said negative 25.
That's not good. There was some place up north yesterday that was like 42 below actual temperature.
Right.
That's insanity.
Yeah, it was negative 25 on my way drive in. And I think when I looked it up on my phone, because I saw that, and of course I had to what's the wind chill right now? The wind chill was negative 44.
Yeah. Gross.
So
It hurts to breathe.
that's what I was. Somebody asked me that. I have a buddy that lives in Arizona, and he called me, and he's like, "Man, it looks cold up there today." He's like, "We're cold down here, but I mean, I'm sure you take our weather," is what he said. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd take your weather all day long right now." But he was like, "How cold? What does that feel like?" I'm like, "There's no feel to it. Like it's just cold.
Yeah.
Like once it gets to like the zero range." It's just cold.
It does just kind of all feel the same.
It feels the same. Like I can't tell the difference between negative 44 and negative 12.
Right.
Like it's just so cold. Your face hurts. It hurts to breathe. Everything hurts. And you try to stay inside as much as possible.
Correct.
So, and then you have to warm your vehicle up. You joked about it this morning. You warmed your vehicle up for 25 minutes, you said?
Yeah, and I went out there and it was still
It's still cold.
It wasn't even warm. I'm like, come on, man.
It was so
It was
funny.
so cold. I felt bad to even try and order delivery over the weekend.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not making somebody deliver food.
Right.
No, I'll just make something here.
You are a rarity. There's not a lot of people that have that compassion there. They're like, you know what? I'm not doing anything. We're ordering pizza.
I'm like, no,
Yep.
I don't want to go out and pick it up. I'm not going to make some dude bring it here and walk
Right.
up my steps.
I agree with you, man. So all of you customers of ours, you're welcome for not scheduling training this week.
Hey, yeah, you're right.
Because that would have been an eye-opener. Hey, we're going to Minnesota. It's what?
Yeah, right.
Negative 24?
And they're getting what? Almost a foot of snow in New Orleans today.
I
We
saw
haven't
that.
we haven't had that much snow all winter here, and they're getting more than us in
So,
one day.
fun story. I'm going to read a text message to you guys because some of you may remember Hunter Patchins. He was a sales guy for us.
Oh yeah, oh Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter sent me a text this morning. He said,
Wait, no, it's Hunter.
Hunter. Yeah, Hunter sent me. Let me read it like we're reading from television. Hunter from Atlanta, Georgia, sent in a text, and he said, "First winter in Minnesota, the snowiest winter Minnesota has had in most recent years. My first winter back in Georgia, snows for the first time in almost 10 years in my hometown. I can't get away from this snowy shit."
That's awesome.
And I just started laughing. He said, "I hope you guys are all doing well. We miss you guys." And I said, "And you got our quarterback. You're welcome."
Oh, he really kind of got
Oh,
cracked on an additional.
I gave it to him there. I was like, let's go.
I didn't even think of that. That's really good.
Yeah, I'm like, and you got a crappy quarterback for too much. So, but yeah, no. So I just thought I'd share that because it is really cold. In fact, it's so cold, my kids didn't go to school today.
Same, mine didn't either.
I cannot recall ever as a kid them canceling school for cold.
I feel like the only time it ever happened was when the governor did it statewide.
Right.
It was like
that's the only one I
30
remember
below.
too.
Yeah,
It got below 30 below or whatever it was, or 40 below. And that was when the governor regulated all schools to be closed.
But now they put all these fancy buzzwords on the
Right.
weather stuff they put out and make it seem like
Right.
impending death is happening.
Right. I had a customer of ours from Florida send me a text message yesterday. And it was a screenshot of his phone. And it said something about concern for quality of life or something like that. And then they were at like 33 degrees.
Yeah.
And it was like something, which I get. Like he was laughing and he's like, he's from Minnesota, I think he said, or from the north, something like that. And he said that he's like, they don't understand what cold really is until you've been up there. He goes, but for us, this is cold. He goes, and people are panicking. He's like, they're running around like with multiple jackets on. I'm like, he's like, and I'm pretty sure you guys would be walking around with a t-shirt on.
That reminds me of when we were in Florida a number of years ago and it was like 65 degrees and kind of breezy. And we went to Walmart to get beach stuff to go to the ocean. And there was people walking around Walmart in parkas and we had flip-flops and tennis shoes on. Went to the beach. There was nobody there. It was literally us four sitting on the beach playing in the water because it was 65 degrees out.
That's funny.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I had a buddy of mine mention that he said, or that customer said that, yeah, it's 33 degrees or something, but he said it feels like 60 with the sun is what he said. But I'm like, oh, so your feels like is warmer. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, feels like is 60. I'm like, okay, ours is negative 14, feels like negative 40.
Yeah, I'd take 30 right now.
But it is starting to warm up.
Yeah, next week's supposed to be almost 40.
That's what I heard. So. It's I'm going to look right now. The old weather gadget says it's 2 degrees. It's above zero right now.
Oh, it is.
It got above zero now.
Progress. First
Let's
time
go.
in like 2.5 days.
There we go. It's above zero. Hey, let's clap.
Snow's melting.
There we go. No, it's not. Yeah, but moving on to the other topics, we got AFC versus NFC. Nope, not yet. We have the AFC and NFC matchups to go to the Super Bowl.
Correct.
So the matchups we want to see.
Washington and Buffalo.
Washington, Buffalo is what you're going with.
Yeah.
I would like to see Washington, Chiefs.
Man.
I'm not a Chiefs fan, for the record.
Patrick Mahomes bothers me more and more every game I watch.
That's why
Every game I watch.
That's why, because everybody gets so irritated by Patrick Mahomes. And there's two things to this, okay? For me. One, everybody, and I am a fan of Tom Brady. Let me be very clear with this.
100%,
Tom Brady is a heck of a quarterback. But I just love that everybody who talks trash and said nobody will ever beat Brady's records. And it's like in the same era he existed, potentially somebody's on pace to break his records.
And it seems like it's going to happen in way less time.
That's my thing. And that's what I think is cool about it. To see it happen and then to see it happen in less time in arguably a more competitive league.
For sure.
Because the talent in today's league is at an all-time high.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's what I think you can't take away from the fact that Mahomes is an elite quarterback.
100% he is, for sure.
I also think he lives in a much more protected world than Brady did.
And he knows it, and he plays off it.
And he plays to it.
He wins at it every time.
Correct. And like Brady, there's video footage of him just getting blindsided and his helmet flying off and him just getting up, grabbing his helmet, going back to the huddle.
And like Mahomes is winning Academy Awards for acting.
Right, exactly. That's exactly.
He's like the LeBron James of the NFL.
But the only reason I picked the Chiefs, I want to get it clear, is that we have a football pool going. And if the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl, it helps my pool. So
I think I'm pretty much dead in that.
I'm sitting pretty good in that one. I'm fourth right now.
No teams that can get me winning points and the same players as basically everybody else. So
let's go.
I know I want Washington to do good. So I want to see how high you can get.
Yeah, I want to see Washington win it.
That'd be sweet.
I would love to see Washington. Like if I get a pick right now out of the 4 teams remaining, I'm picking Washington. I want them to win it.
Yeah, I'd be Washington or Buffalo. Phillies fans don't deserve anything, and
sorry if you're a Philly fan.
I mean, I've never met a nice one or seen a nice one, so
that's funny.
There's that.
Yeah, well, you saw the video that went around a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
That guy lost his job. Do you hear that?
Good.
Yeah, lost his job.
Deservedly
Good
so.
for that company.
I'd expect the same treatment if that happened to me.
Right.
But that's silly.
Anyways, moving on. Customer questions and comments. Obviously, I picked random questions that we were submitted and comments we've seen. And I'm going to just throw out a few of them here today and we'll answer them for you. So any particular reason you chose that music? And they were referring to a video we recently posted. And the music wasn't chosen by us. So that's the answer. We didn't get to choose the music. It was actually a video supplied by a customer. And they actually created their own video and just shared it with us. So we typically in those scenarios just retain the music they created their video with. And so in that case, I can't say why that music was chosen, but I can imagine that the question comes from, I'm guessing somebody didn't like the music. So nevertheless, that's the music that came with that video. So
I feel like all videos should just have Taylor Swift songs in them, for the record.
Shake It Off.
Everybody would love it.
Just Shake It Off videos over and over.
Yeah.
Why are you shutting down and opening up the valves on the vacuum table? Referencing our countertop video that we did with Sean. Traditionally, the reason we do that is because this is how we close off areas of the table that we don't want air to go to ensure proper suction to the parts in the area. But also it speeds up the loading and unloading processes without needing to start our pump over and over. And that in that video is why we do it. The rule of thumb for a Becker pump is no more than 6 times per hour do you want to turn the pump on and off. And with a regenerative blower style motor, it's 4 times a day. So in those cases, it's always best to run your pump all day long. You'll put less wear into them and therefore less maintenance into your pump. So there's your answer to that. And then last one was, with all the cut scenes and editing in this video, how are we supposed to know it only took 5 minutes? And he was talking about the 5-minute cabinet. I guess, I mean, you could doubt it. I mean, I guess I don't know how we win or how it would be beneficial to us in any way to call it a 5-minute cabinet that takes 6 minutes, because to me, that you're just going to buy the machine and then call me and I'm going to have to deal with that. So I guess you have to have some trust in the fact that I'm marketing off of my integrity, and we've been doing this 26 years now, and I don't have a reason to now change the fact of what my machines can do. But he also finished up with, what's with the crappy music? So sorry for crappy music. Apparently people don't like our music choice. And but yeah, I mean, we have a ton of videos that show, uncut, unprocessed video, which is just machines running in its raw state. But from that standpoint, it's kind of boring for a lot of people, and people don't want to sit there for 5 continuous minutes to watch the machine. They kind of want to see, what are we doing, and actually see what took less than 5 minutes. And so that's what we showed in this video. It's like, we told you it took less than 5 minutes. It wasn't about proving that it took less than 5 minutes. If we want to do a prove it video, I can definitely do that. Just shoot me an email and I'll have my guys send you a video proving that we can cut a cabinet in less than 5 minutes. Like, if there's any naysayers out there that believe that's not true, I'll prove it. But again, it's about marketing, trying not to take all afternoon to explain how and why we got there. So
Right. I have a question from a customer actually too.
okay.
I got an email and he asked the best way to carve wood with his router. I simply replied back and said, whittle by whittle.
Get out of here. What's funny? As soon as you said you had a question, I knew it wasn't a question.
Well, it was.
You've broke me at this point.
It was a very good answer.
Like, I wasn't even ready to answer a question because I was like, there's going to be some stupid. Like, if it would have been a real question, I would have had to make you actually say it to me again.
It was funny though.
I tuned you out immediately.
This bit is growing old, huh?
No, this bit is not. I'm sure people love it. I do not. As I did.
The guys in the other room thought it was great when I ran it by them as a question for the day.
Whittle by whittle. Oh, get out of here.
Now you're coming around, you're laughing at
No.
it.
Still stupid.
Once you got past the anger of the whole thing, at least you didn't like fall for it and start answering the question like you have the last 2 weeks.
That's why I'm so angry about it. The last one I answered, or 2 weeks ago I answered it. I was so mad about that. I gave a shout out.
I'll never forget the guy just putting the guy fishing and getting reeled in as the comment on the post. That was
You
great.
should have, if you were smart. See, this is proof, Nick. You should have left the question for me to answer.
Probably.
And then dropped your line. No, the real answer, Brandon, is whittle by whittle.
Yeah.
Son of a. So, good thing you didn't set me up.
Good setup, poor delivery.
Yeah. Great setup, poor delivery.
2.0 on a landing.
There you go. So we're going to jump into our audience question. It's my turn to ask some questions here.
Fair enough.
So, what is the turning point for you when it comes to identifying a change you need to make? So as you sit here and think about your life, your job, your business, whatever, let me ask you, what is the turning point for you when it comes to identifying a change that you need to make? Nick?
I read this one before, and the first thing that popped in my head was something I think of a lot when I'm doing my photography. Like, a lot of people want to do things in the same place or like setting they've seen me do prior things in before.
Yep.
And when I'm like going to a shoot and I'm starting to question where I'm going to go to make it look different than other things, I think that's for me when I know that it's time to find a new spot that has kind of the same type of setting or feel or whatever. Just to, if you start questioning whether you're going to start making things look too similar, that's when I feel like it's time to move to a new location.
Right. I think that's a good answer. I mean, I that's a different answer than I expected, to be honest. That's why it's taken me a second. Like, that's actually really good. Like, when you start to realize that, for me, the turning point is when I identify that I need to make a change is when I find that I'm not challenged anymore. Like, that's for me, like, when I find that I feel like I'm just running through the motions. Yeah. I can put it on autopilot and not have to, like, I can do multiple things at once. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can be thinking about something else and it just happens. Like, I realize like there's a turning point here that it comes to, like, I need to change something because I need to make this more challenging for myself, you know, and that's in like life skills, right?
Yep.
Now, when it comes to like business in general, the turning point for me is when I start to notice a pattern, right? And generally that is somebody is telling me to do something the same, you know, over and over. Hey, we're having a problem with this, or we had an issue with this, or, you know, if the tech guy's come to me, hey, I've heard 3 calls on this one thing, like, it's a pattern. Yeah. And at that point, patterns typically are an indication that something should change.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the pattern is a good pattern, and so you don't change it, right? But sometimes the pattern is an indication that something is coming that you need to think about your approach on and get out in front of it, and or try to make the experience better for everybody. So that's for me. Is I assess the patterns. And when I see a pattern, I start to kind of like, or in my personal life, if it doesn't challenge me anymore, I try to find a new challenge or, you know, motivate myself to go to a new level.
I like it.
Like it? Well, good.
Is that why you're getting a new style race car?
New style race car? I'm not getting a new style race car.
Is it the same kind? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm building a new race car.
Oh.
It's the same race car, though.
Okay.
Just a new one.
I thought maybe you were going to like try a different class or something.
You know what's funny? No, I'm not trying a new class.
Weren't you going to get like one of them little
micro sprint
midget things or something?
My wife vetoed it. She didn't want me to hit flip over more than I already do.
Some guys. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to even do that.
No, she was really anti against that. So
it's probably more dangerous though, right?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. No.
It just seems like a smaller car would have less spots for you to like bounce around before you fly out the window. Or like get crushed. I don't know. It just seems.
I feel like poor maintenance if I fly out the window.
Well,
in fact, actually, the car I wanted to buy, a guy flew out the window last year.
Probably why she said no.
No, she didn't know about that one. But never, and he survived. He just stood up.
Show her the video after you buy it. By the way,
this happened last year. I'm not buying one of those. But yesterday, funny story. Somebody posted online. Has anybody found what's the best way to remove an old wrap from your race car? And it was like 30 comments deep of all these people giving suggestions on how to like take off wrap, which is like your stickers.
Oh, yeah, I was there.
Yeah, how to take off the wrap, all the stickers and everything off your race car. And I just commented back, wait, you guys have a race car to take wraps off at the end of the year?
Like, I usually just drive it along the wall for a couple laps.
I roll my car, and that's what ends my car. So we just put a new body on it.
You just like heat it up and peel it off?
Yeah, these guys were using like blow torches and stuff, and I don't know. I've literally never done it.
Can't you just put a wrap over an old wrap?
That's what I do. That's why I was laughing, because I'm like, I was gonna respond back. Wait, why do you guys take it off? Just wrap over the other one.
I've never made it through a season without crashing.
But then I was like, wait a second. I've actually only had to do that one time too, because I just crash all the time, and then I just replace the body. So I'm gonna go with that answer. So that was where it came from. So, anyways, moving forward. Let's talk about this a little bit because it actually fits my race car topic too. You know, I just purchased a new race car. I shouldn't say new. I'm building a race car, but I bought the chassis from a manufacturer. And obviously when you're buying new race cars and like buying equipment, like buying anything, you have to choose where you're going to buy it from. And, you know, are you going to buy it from an equipment dealer or are you going to buy it from a direct OEM or a manufacturer, right? And you need to understand that difference. And so today's episode is understanding the differences between equipment dealers and direct manufacturers. And, you know, really, as we get into the heartbeat of this episode, I want to just simply ask people to think about something they've purchased in recent years. You know, just something that you've bought, whether it's a car, whether it's, you know, a piece of equipment, whatever. Did you buy it from a dealer or did you buy it direct? And most people for cars, you're buying from a dealer.
Yep.
I mean, there's not a lot of people that can buy a car directly from General Motors. Now, some people can, and I'm going to bet you that if they can, they do. I think largely General Motors doesn't want to sell to the public, so that's why they require you to buy from a dealer.
Sure.
However, let's start off by breaking down the key differences between the equipment dealer and a direct manufacturer, because equipment dealers as a whole, they're essentially a middleman, for lack of better explanation. That's not necessarily a bad thing, okay? I want to be very clear. When I say that, like calling them a middleman, it doesn't make them a bad thing. It's just they're a middle facilitator between the person who built the product and the person buying the product. That is their job. And traditionally, they sell products from multiple manufacturers, right? They aren't one company. They sell several different brands of several different things and often cover a wide range of different makes and models. Now, dealers typically don't produce or design equipment they sell. Most of them, they're selling something that somebody else already engineered and designed. Now, some dealers, some people will private label, and they're a dealer of the brand, but the private labeling is under their own name. But really, when you look at an equipment dealer, their knowledge may vary depending on the brand that they carry and what it represents, and ultimately what commissions they're making from that product, which will dictate how much resources they're going to dedicate to understanding that product line, right? If they make more money, they want to sell more of them.
For sure.
Therefore, they're likely to self-educate more in an area where they want to be really good.
Yep.
Where if the product's there and it's just in their tool belt, but it's not really what they're interested in, they probably don't know as much about it. Think that's fair to say that?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So now let's look at the other side of it. Flip the script and let's look at direct manufacturers, right? Well, a lot of it can be a 180 degree of what I just talked about, right? A manufacturer, like shops, let's just talk about us. We design, engineer, and build the machines that we sell. There's no middleman. I'm not passing you on to somebody outside this organization to talk to them, which creates a more direct line of communication between you, the end user, and us, the people building the product or the people behind the scenes, right? Yep. And as a manufacturer, we're involved in the product life cycle. And from concept to delivery, we provide detailed insight and can provide support that dealers just may not be able to match simply because of the fact that they don't have that direct sight,
Yep.
right? We have that direct connection to the internal processes and the daily operations, as well as if you ask a complicated question, there's somebody in our building and facility that can answer it, right? There's nothing that you can ask that we can't get to the root answer.
That was the first thing that popped into my head. Like, equipment dealers are going to know, like kind of the basics or
they're going to know the sales
outside understanding of it. They need to sell the product.
Right.
Where if somebody calls and asks a specific question that's like a deep dive into something, you're going to have a direct manufacturer that's going to know the better answer to that, right?
Right.
Typically.
Yeah, typically they're going to have at least the resources to be able to get you that much quicker, right? So when you're buying from a dealer, you're buying a product. When you're buying it from a direct manufacturer, you're investing in a partnership.
For sure.
I think that's a fair assessment. And as you kind of, that's my takeaway from that difference between a direct OEM and an equipment dealer. Now, what impact does that have on your customer experience, right? One of the biggest differences is you'll notice between a dealer and a direct manufacturer is the customer experience largely is different a lot of the time, right? And I think there's some misconception on this because I think some people actually believe that a dealer means they're going to get better service. And it's simply because they think, well, the guy's local to me. It's a local deal. That means I'm going to get better service. It's a lot different than a car dealership. Like a car dealership, you're driving to them, you're going into their facility, they have all the tools, they hook it up, they're trained in that product. Your equipment dealers, they're not the same. They're not a specified, specific OEM. Like, they're not brand guided, where like General Motors has brand guidelines.
Yep.
Like there's standards, there's things they have to do. Like with OEMs, you get that. But with a equipment dealer, you don't always get that. A lot of times there's no regulation there behind the scenes, right? They're just a guy being paid a commission to sell you a product and service that product to you. And then if it gets over his head, then you talk to the OEM.
Well, and I think too, it kind of depends on what the OEM's like long-term goal is, right? Are they just in it to sell you that one piece of equipment and then assume you're going to have it for 10, 15, 20 years and not come back? Or is it like a car dealership where they know that every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, people are going to want to buy something new and hope to get them to come back?
Yeah.
I think there's just a big difference in what certain dealers or certain items you can use a dealer for that you know you're going to get the proper service and attention to detail with, and some you're just not.
I agree with that. I think everything you're saying is the truth behind an OEM versus a dealer, because I think a lot of people naturally want to say that they're going to get better service by going, through a local dealer. But I don't think that the knowledge base that they necessarily bring to the table is what a OEM can bring to the table. Because it's not like, I guess the best way for me to put it is that like you don't have that internal like connect. There's not a real like connection. It's just two businesses choosing to work together.
Yep.
Versus like a direct arm of that, associated product.
And oftentimes dealers have multiple brands that they're working with, and they just kind of have this big umbrella that they're trying to sell, whatever. Where if you go to direct to somebody, they have like a Shop Saver. We have one line of machines, one type of area that we're focusing on. Now we're not doing 45 different other things. Right.
And I think that's, in contrast, that's exactly it. Direct manufacturing know their product inside and out, right? Like we know everything about Shop Saver. We couldn't tell you, the ins and outs of all the other brand of, sanders and edge banders. And, we just know what we sell.
Yep.
And I think that's a perfect contrast, is that at Shop Saver, our team is involved in every step of the design, the product process, which means that we can answer most of your technical questions, or also, I guess not or, but also we can hear when you say something and know when something's not a good fit.
Yep.
Because little things that we key off of go, wait a second, our machine won't do that.
And I think you're not afraid to tell people that.
Correct.
Because you're trying to make something that fits specific to what they're trying to do.
Right.
So you're not going to just sell them something to sell it to them.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing, is you got customization and flexibility. I mean, that's a good point, is that dealers sell what is available to them, right? Often with limited options or customization, because they're selling a package or a specific configuration. And this can be the same for importers, right? They're buying a product from overseas and just slapping their name on it, so they don't get to change the design.
Right.
But the product is dictated ultimately by an outside vendor.
Correct.
And the supplier kind of leads the limitation, right? Where a direct manufacturer can work with you to tailor a solution to meet your exact needs, and can help you many times understand what is customizable, what is not customizable, and how this either benefits you or hurts you, depending on what your goal is, right? Like, hey, by not buying this option, you're going to miss out on this, and this will hurt your business. Like, kind of help you that you should be looking at this, or tell you when maybe you're buying something you don't need. Whether it's a custom configuration, specialized features, we as manufacturers have some flexibility, right? There's some things that we're able to do to help adapt to your business, and then obviously in an OEM world, we also have some, processes that we have in place that we're not just going to build a completely custom random machine. I mean, that's just not who we are. But I think when you look at it from that perspective, I think there's a lot of flexibility, no?
Yeah.
The other thing to think about is, let's talk about after sales support, right? So this is where the rubber meets the road, if you will, right? Dealers often are limited on their internal support capacity, and before they can like give you the ultimate service, sometimes they might have to pass you off, right? And that happens where they pass you off to the manufacturer, to the OEM, because you've reached their technical IQ.
Yep.
Right? They just don't know it. Not that they don't want to help you. They just don't know that level of answer, or the technical aspect of the, behind the scenes. They can't tell you how the PLC is built. They can't tell you the support structure inside the control boards, where the OEM knows all that because they designed it.
Right.
And so it can lead to a delay or a miscommunication. That's the other thing. It's like sometimes it's just they're playing a liaison between you and the OEM because they don't want you calling the OEM. Or in some cases, some OEMs don't allow you to call them because you bought through a dealer. So now you're having to deal with your middleman, and they're not understanding your question, or they're explaining the question wrong to the OEM, and therefore getting you bad information. And one thing I found is that oftentimes there can be miscommunication between a dealer and a supplier more than there is between you and the dealer.
Right.
And therefore, these breakdowns lead to further delays to you because you were uninvolved in those communications.
The first thing that pops into my head, like not to continue to bring up the car dealer angle, but like if you have an issue with your car and it needs to be something that's warranty work, you don't always right away have the dealer telling you, hey, we'll cover it or we'll take care of it. They need to get the approval from whoever they have to go through first.
Right.
So it's one of those things where if you're working directly with the manufacturer, it's going to be a quicker process to get things fixed or replaced.
Well, think about after sale support and just in general. Like, you know, when you're selling something, there's a motivation.
Yes.
Right?
For sure.
And that's something I try to remind to my customers is that, and I'm not saying every dealer is like this, okay? But there's a lot of motivation in sales.
Mm-hmm.
The dealer gets a commission. He's picking up a check from you. They're quick. They're Johnny on the spot. They want to answer your questions. They want to get you taken care of. After the sale, there's not so much incentive anymore.
Yeah.
Like every headache, every call, everything you do is a burden to them because they don't have any reputation on the line anymore. It's not my product. They have an easy, like, well, you know, I didn't build the machine. I can, you know, sorry, the OEM didn't give me this. Or there's an easy scapegoat there, right? With an OEM, the reputation is still there. It's their product forever.
For sure.
And like they're never going to walk away from you on that. So with a direct manufacturer like ShopSaver, you have one point of contact from start to finish for everything. So from purchasing to your setup to your ongoing support, whatever it is, like it's the same point of contact. It's the same facility. And this continually makes a difference when it comes to like product success. I've learned that. Like the continuity within the product is something that I think really matters. And, you know, we are your direct connection between you and the parts supplier, right? Like we bought the parts. We know what we're working with. We are the, you know, OEM. We have a lot of times a lot of reach too, because we work with a lot of suppliers and therefore our suppliers and us have really good relationships. Where an OEM or a direct dealer, they don't necessarily have that reach.
Yep.
They're a lower volume on their level and therefore like they don't necessarily have some of the expertise behind the scenes. And so, you know, when you think about what we do, you might call us and, you know, we call the OEM of the component, get it taken care of. Where if you call a dealer, they call us, then we call the supplier, then we call them back, then they call you. And you have yourself a good old-fashioned game of telephone.
Yep. Back and forth it goes
And
on.
well, my concern is always like the telephone game always reacts or responds with somebody says something wrong or something gets lost in translation.
Yep.
And
I think too, like even on like a smaller scale, people know that using ShopSaver for an example, they call one number and they're going to get the answer to whatever questions or needs they have, right? We're going to get them to somebody that helps them. Or if you just call some big dealer or corporation, whatever you bought something from,
right,
who knows how long it's going to take you to actually get a hold of somebody that can help you with your issue,
well,
or who you're going to get passed along to.
My thing about it is it's not even that. Like that paints them out to be bad, which is very real. Like that, there's a lot of bad dealers out there, unfortunately, but there's also a lot of really good dealers.
Sure.
And I think the problem, though, even with the really good dealers, is they have no control over the product.
Right.
Even if they want to take care of you and they think you deserve it and everything, like they aren't the company. And they rely on the policies of the other companies. And they don't get to set those policies. So they're working within regulations they didn't get to set.
They're still taking their questions to somebody else and hoping to get the answer.
Correct.
To make your person happy. Yeah.
The customer experience to me just isn't about the sale, right? It's about what happens after the sale. And that's why I think that direct manufacturer sign is because, remember, 10 years ago, you needed that local guy. The internet wasn't, and I say 10 years ago, it's probably 20 now in all reality,
Yeah.
But my point being is that when this dealer world existed, it was because you drove around shop to shop trying to sell somebody something because the internet didn't exist.
Right.
It wasn't capable. Like when my dad sold products, it was a much different world. He had to drive to your facility, talk to you, do things because the internet, he couldn't tell you to go out and watch a video.
Or you couldn't just throw it in the mail and it'd be there in 2 days.
Right.
Like it's, yeah.
So now that the internet and all the other stuff is available, like it's so much easier to remote remote diagnose issues. Use a webcam to see what you're seeing. We can FaceTime nowadays. You can take photos on your phone, send them to me. Like, there's so many ways to see what's going on nowadays. And as you said, I can throw something in the mail and it's there tomorrow. I can overnight ship things. And that approach oftentimes is quicker than actually trying to schedule your local rep. And that's what I have actually found in the real world. And this all needs to be considered because it's a cost and value consideration, right? Let's talk about cost for a second, because usually one thing that you have to think about is what does something cost you up front, right? I think that's the first thing that people consider when they're making a big investment, right?
Yep.
I think people consider cost a lot of times before they consider value.
For sure.
And I know there's somebody listening right now that goes, that's the same thing. No. Cost is what you paid. Value is what you get for what you're paying.
For sure.
And the dealer markup is something people don't think about. The dealer needs to make a profit. They should. They're a business.
That's what business are trying to do, right?
They're a business. They too have overhead. They have things that they have to pay for. But that added markup comes from somewhere. It's either on the manufacturer's price or on your price. But in either place, the manufacturer built it for a price, then the price got changed so that the dealer could be involved.
Yep.
And a lot of times that's 20 to 30%. So now you think about that. They're either buying parts for less money, meaning they're cutting corners to put cheaper parts on there so they can charge the same price as some of these direct OEMs, right? Which is how the import market works. That's why the Chinese machines are a lot of times the same price as what you're seeing from a U.S. product, and why they don't last as long, because you're getting less quality parts and processes because they have to in order to be able to have that margin to allow the person in the overseas facility to build the machine and sell it for a profit.
Yep.
And then the shipping to get it to wherever it's got to go to then be resold to you for another profit and another set of shipping. So as you start to think about it, your OEM is marking it up to cover their expense, right?
Yep.
Well, now the dealer has to mark it up to cover their expense. And so by the time you get the product, it's been marked up multiple times.
Right.
And, obviously we're an OEM. We don't pay the same price as everybody else because we use volume. So we get deals on parts and we get, deals on processes. I mean, obviously the labor I can do multiple things at one time. So I can cut off how much labor I have to charge each individual customer by building in bulk.
Yep.
Where with a dealer, they're selling individual. They're not building in bulk necessarily. They're selling an individual product, right?
Correct.
And so, like I said, the cost comes from somewhere. Either it's a cut corner or the service is going to be lower or the quality is going to be lower. Something has to happen. But if the prices are competitive, then you're getting something less somewhere. So you got to think about that from the dealer markup. From the value of the manufacturer, with a direct manufacturer, there's no middleman. So again, that markup doesn't exist there. There's one less place for a markup, which means you're getting the best value for your money because the price you pay goes directly towards the quality of the product and the support you're going to receive.
Correct.
And when you spend $1, you get $1 worth of value. And from a manufacturer, you're going to also find the fact that you have a little bit more direct negotiations. Because when you're talking to the OEM, they don't have anybody else to factor in. When you're talking to the dealer, they only have so much to work with. They know that, and they have to leave enough for them to pay themselves.
Correct.
So you have a little bit of a limitation there. And so it's not just about the price itself. It's the value. What am I getting for that price, right? Because am I paying outside vendors to basically provide me the same product I'd be getting elsewhere? And then you have to think about your long-term ROI, right? It's not about the upfront costs that we've just talked about. It's not about, anything other than your long-term return on your investment. Direct manufacturing often provides you a significant warranty. A lot of times it's a more reliable support because the OEM exists and the OEM is not going to bail on their own product. And then a lot of times you're going to get a higher quality product because, again, the OEM is going to put their name on it and they want to stand behind it. When a private label product is built, the person building it, there's no pride in the product because their name's not even going on it.
Right.
And so it translates into a better investment long term. You have to think about that middleman approach. Eventually, that middleman could change what they're doing. I mean, I've met a lot of customers in my life that have complained about the fact they bought a machine and now they have no support. And the reason is because who they bought it from either went out of business, stopped supporting that model. They changed brands, they went to a different thing, or got out of the industry altogether.
Yep. This just really makes me think, like, in the kind of the time we live in right now, everything is just like, get something as quick as you can, as fast as you can.
Correct.
We don't really pay attention to these types of things.
Right.
I don't think a lot of people are just like, I need this today. I'm going to go pay for whatever I need to pay for. I'm going to do no research, no check it out.
Right.
Nobody looking to see if I can get the same thing from somebody else for less money. And then, like you said, who's going to get me better support or better service, or even for the same price or whatever. I think we're just in a time right now where we want everything right now and don't really care about
convenience as well.
Yeah, for sure.
We pay for convenience in today's world rather than we could pay for the value. Right. And so it's, I call it the convenience charge, right? Like, you're going to pay more money sometimes for less because it's convenient. And you have to think about the fact that, like, even with a dealer, like, they have a contract a lot of times with these vendors, and that contract is going to expire at some point. And when that contract expires, do they renew it? Maybe not. Maybe the dealer doesn't want to work with that company anymore because they've gotten some bad feedback from their customer. Or maybe, the OEM changes the pay structure. You know what? We put these new whiz bangs in the machine, and now it costs us 10% more. So we can't afford to raise our price 10%. So therefore, we're going to cut your margin by 10%.
Right.
And now instead of you making 30%, you make 20%.
And then you decide it's not worth it anymore.
And your dealer says, what, I'm not doing it for 20%. Because by the time I put my discounts in there and everything, like, I'm down to 10%. It's not worth my time.
Right.
I'm going to walk away. So they quit. They walk away from that. They go find a different brand. Somebody who's going to give them their 30 points. But you own the product by the other vendor. Well, now your local dealer is not a dealer of that product anymore. So now they can't be an advocate for you, because how do I take care of that customer when I don't even have a service contract with that company anymore?
Right.
So, like, those are the things I think people lose sight of, is that these things are real scenarios. This stuff really happens. And you just lost that relationship. So with a dealer, you might save some time from shopping around, right, and doing your own homework, but you'll often pay more for less value long term, right? Because you're paying 100%. A middleman. There's more cost associated there. So remember, the convenience is coming with a cost. You're paying a convenience fee is what you're doing.
Yep.
And the impact is sometimes significant, right? And you have to think about the strategic advantage of choosing your direct manufacturer, right? Why should you consider direct manufacturers as your first choice? Well, I think the first thing is that strong relationship that we just talked about. When you work with a direct manufacturer, you're building a relationship that you're going to hopefully have for many, many years. And with people who are invested in your success, because your success is directly their success. That partnership can lead to better service when you need them, faster solutions, and a stronger sense of trust. Also, you have access to innovation, right? Direct manufacturers are constantly improving their processes, their parts, their procedures. And when you work directly with that source, you're going to likely benefit from the latest advancements in their technology and their changes. So, any upgrades they make, any service changes they make, you'll know about them. At least you have an insight into them, right? And then you start to think about the scalability and the growth. As your business grows, so do your needs. And a direct manufacturer a lot of times can grow with you. They're going to have another product line, or they know where you came from, right? They understand what you were working with and where to go next. And a lot of times it's within the same ecosystem. You're not having to relearn software and support systems, but they have a product upstream that you just keep upgrading into, and therefore you're not having to rechange. Where a lot of times with a dealer, they might carry one line, and then as you evolve, now you move into a different brand.
Sure. And
so now you're starting kind of over in the process. So it's something that you think about, is that I always call it the reward points, right? You get reward points in life.
Yep.
For being loyal, right? Brand loyalty. When you come back to a company, they recognize it.
Yep.
But when you're buying from a dealer, yeah, your dealer might give you some loyalty there, but the OEMs, the people who actually built your product and are your direct line of support, a lot of times don't see you as loyal there, because you're going to jump from one brand to the next, and I might lose you as fast as I gained you, right?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that I thought of through this last little section here about the relationship with the direct manufacturer is, if you have suggestions or feedback or things you like or don't like about a product, if you tell a dealer, are they for sure going to get it back to the manufacturer? Maybe not, but at least you know that if you're working directly with the manufacturer, they hear the things you tell them and hear the things you say. Whether or not they listen to it or do anything about it, who knows? But at least you know they're hearing you.
Correct, exactly. And it allows, the other thing is, it helps it helps everybody because like with an OEM, hearing it from your customers allows you, as I said earlier, a pattern.
Yep.
If I start to hear a pattern and see a pattern, I can make a change. So it's making sure that your suggestions don't fall on deaf ears. But choosing a direct manufacturer isn't just a purchase decision. It is a strategic growth strategy, right?
For sure.
And again, real world examples. I mean, I think that's where this stuff comes together. Is we've had customers who initially purchased from dealers who've later switched to our products here at ShopSaver. And I've heard oftentimes from people about the frustrations they faced in delayed support or unexpected costs because they got to pay that dealer to come out to look at the machine. And while the upfront promises have been there and they promised the world, the after sale had a very different feel to it, right? And it had to fit into individual schedules, or they often left them with days or weeks, or feeling like the cost to do certain things were absorbent. Where with ShopSaver, you're charged up front. Then you have a team that's involved throughout the life of ownership, and they're able to keep you up and running because we have the ability to remotely log in. You're not waiting on a service technician to get there. And I remind people, the local service technician is great, but a lot of times you don't need it.
Right.
Like, it's great if you have some big, terrible thing going on, but ShopSaver can fly somebody over to your facility, or they can drive to you if you're locally, about as fast as the dealer can.
Yep.
And the great thing is, though, rather than relying on that dealer, we can log in remotely and a lot of times solve your problem in real time.
Correct.
Because 9 out of 10 times it's something the operator did wrong or hit the button wrong or did something that they think is the end of the world, and we can solve it in minutes, get them back up and running. And, that's on the flip side. We've worked with many customers who've only bought from us or only partnered with us, and they've never worked with a dealer. And they just expect the world everywhere to be like we are. We've heard that from people that like until they buy something else later on, right? Another product for their shop. Maybe it's not CNC related, it's just something else. And then they see what like the dealer world looks like. Then they start to realize like, man, I was spoiled. Like everything was so easy. And I think that's when people don't realize how good of an experience it can be when you buy from a direct OEM if you've never done it.
Right.
So the bottom line, the right partner can make all the difference. And in most cases, that partner looks a lot like a direct manufacturer. And so, at the end of the day, kind of closing it out, I know it's got long-winded today, but the decision between a dealer and a direct manufacturer comes down to what's most important to you. Is it price? Is it value? Is it support? Is it all of the above? I want to be very clear. Now, I've talked for 45 minutes at this point, and we've talked a lot about dealers versus OEMs, and I've talked a lot about how great OEMs are because that's what we are. But there are some really good dealers out there. I want to be very clear on that. There are some very good dealers in this world who hold themselves to the highest standards. However, those dealers are going to cost you because they're worth it.
Yep.
They don't give away their support and service for free because of the fact that, again, they're a middleman. They have to have a cost associated with learning what they're doing. And a lot of them, it comes somewhere. You're paying for it. And in today's world, there's few and far of those dealers remaining. Most people in the dealer world are looking for a way to make money without actually having to build a product, right? Yep. They want to be a part of the solution. They want to be a part of your journey, but they don't build the product. And so a good dealer will ultimately admit to you that they're very different than the vast majority of the industry because there's not a lot of them left. And there's probably a handful of them listening to this and that will say, you know what, I agree. Like, I'm a hell of a dealer and I know I can kick everybody's butt around me and I can rival your OEM support. And you're probably right. There's probably a few of them out there that can do it. But it's a gamble you're taking to find that if you have that dealer or not, because they all look the same initially. They all act the same. It's the experience after the fact that will tell you if they are. And I think that's where you really have to rely on that, because when you work with a direct manufacturer like ShopSaver, you're not just buying a machine. You're investing in the partnership, the building trust with us, the expertise that comes along with it. We have 25 plus years of experience building these machines, not just a machine, these machines, this brand. And we're committed to your success as much as our own success. And we know that through you being successful, we will be successful. And so I just remind people to think about that. So as you evaluate your options, ask yourself some simple questions. Do you want to have to worry about a middleman? Do I want to partner with somebody who's as invested in my growth as I am? Do you want someone who cares about the product as much as you care about your company? Because that's really what it comes down to. When I want you to think about it is most dealers have less investment in the product itself than they do their business.
Correct.
Our business is our product. And therefore, we're as invested in it as we can be. So that's what I leave you with right now. So
I like that line, by the way. Our business is our product.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Our business is our product, and it's true.
For sure. Yep.
So, moving on. Do you got any motivational stories today that you want to share?
I didn't come prepared for one this. I kind of avoided the whole internet and social media thing the last few days just because it's kind of a crazy world we live in.
No, that's fair.
Whatever. So I didn't bring anything. Sorry.
No problem. No, that's good. The motivational story stuff, for me is just about if there's something you stumbled upon. Unfortunately, I didn't spend a lot of, I guess maybe it's fortunately too. I didn't spend a lot of time on social media this week. I've been busy. But, for me, motivation is just found in many different ways. And it's just finding a way to lift somebody up. Sometimes it's just a simple comment or a, way to support somebody. And I just remind you that sometimes you have to be a little bit uncomfortable. You have to step outside your comfort zone and be a little bit vulnerable sometimes to grow. And put yourself in a vulnerable situation where you don't know it all. And sometimes it's okay to admit it. And, my motivational story is simply that, is that, I've seen people willing to ask for help, online, and the amount of people that reach out with a hand to try to help these people out. I see it on our local, happenings pages, and it just, I'm sure you see them, for every negative story, there's always a positive story. So look hard enough, you'll find them. It's just, what are you looking for? And, therefore, it brings me to my motivational quote of the week for you. And it's, sometimes later becomes never. Do it today. Sometimes later becomes never. Do it today.
For sure.
So call your buddy, the person that you haven't had time to call. Call your mom. Call your dad, your brother, your sister, whoever. Start the project you've been putting off. Whatever it is that you've been putting off. It's calling somebody. It's following up with somebody. It's doing a project. I got to get this honey-do list done. I haven't done it. Do it today. Start today. Do something today. Because tomorrow you won't remember the inconvenience of today. They'll just remember that it's done.
Yep.
So get it done. Start doing something. Put yourself in those shoes. And that means even with CNC equipment, it's time. If you're struggling with finding labor, you struggle with getting things caught up, you're just tired of doing things the old school way, today's the day to do it. Stop giving yourself an excuse. And that's my final thought. My final thought is stop giving yourself a reason to not do what you need to do.
I like it. I think mine is just, do something to be nice to somebody today.
Yep.
Do something simple that can put a smile on somebody's face. Whether it's take a second and hold the door and let somebody go in the door before you at a store. Yep. I don't know. Help somebody put their groceries in their car. I don't know. Something that's simple that doesn't take any real time or effort.
Agreed.
That can just help somebody out.
There's so many things you can do that are so simple in life that will make things better. And sometimes it's letting go of something. Maybe you're hanging on to some animosity, you're hanging on to some anger or some grudges. Let them go. Yep. Today's the day. You got to start clean slate. And that's what I've chosen to do this year. I told you this month that was my goal, was I was going to let go of all animosity, all negativity. I was going to become a quote unquote new me, right? I'm just not going to carry the burden of the negativity in the world, right. And I'm going to move on. And those who are going to hang on to it and carry it, they're going to be in my past.
Yep.
And that's fine. And you should do the same thing. So move on today. Again, going back to my motivational quote, call your buddy. Call your mom, your dad, whoever. Tomorrow's not promised. Take the time to call these people so you don't regret it. But yeah, if this episode gave you something to think about, share it with somebody who's in the market. Maybe there's somebody out there looking at a CNC machine or buying equipment and they just don't know what they're doing, or you can see they're struggling. Or better yet, just send them my way. Reach out to us. We're happy to help them out. Send them to ShopSaber. Sales@ShopSaber.com if you need information on our products. Go to our website, ShopSaber.com. It's awesome. There's lots of good information out there. And if you're ready to take the next step with a direct manufacturer like ourselves, it's a good way to reach out to us. We'd love to show you why partnering with us is the best decision you can make when it comes to investment in this equipment. But with that, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Nick.
Until next time, keep talking shop.